Um, Gene started playing with one of the things that we talked about last week in the webinar, and I'm going to address some of those issues today. So that's kind of cool. But thank you, Gene. That's a good example of the very thing that we were talking about. And what a perfect setup for the title of this book, Dark Fall. That dark what do I want to call that? That dark design trend works really, really well for that. Again, it plays right into the very thing that we were talking about. I have the order of these two things reversed, so I apologize for this. I kind of want to think about these last four things here. Don't let fear be a roadblock. It's not the dreaming, it's the doing. You know, I think sometimes we forget. We hear all of these things about people who thought things and it manifested itself and all of that. You still have to do something. You still have to do the doing, and the doing part's very, very important. Don't start a company unless it's an obsession or something that you love, and this is really important. I think too oftentimes we hear about this amazing opportunity to make money, and it's not something that we really are passionate about. And I appreciate that reminder to do that, and then treat your customers like they own you, because they do, and that's a really important comment. That's the last time we're going to look at that, but I want you to get those things kind of firmly planted in your head. I think they're great tips from somebody who's had a great career. All right. Now, Gavin posted this, and with this one and this one, these two kind of go together. That dark theme is really, really popular, and you can see why. I really like this cityscape that Gavin used here to do this with. I thought Gene's looked really good. This is a great use of taking that dark theme and making it work for a design idea, and a good use of background here. I would have never thought that you could use black on black and be as effective as that is, or dark on dark and be as effective as that is. But it looks like it went really well. So thank you, Gene and Gavin, both for doing that. The other thing is, and this is over here, this is this comment right here. It's not the dreaming, it's the doing. What happened immediately? Immediately, these two guys immediately took what we had learned in that webinar and immediately put them into work. That doing becomes very, very important. And I appreciate them taking the action necessary to make that happen. So good job, guys. I appreciate that. Again, when you put those things into work, you firmly plant them in your head. It's kind of that muscle memory, only it's brain memory that implants those practices and those behaviors in your mind. Has anybody seen Gene yet? Gene, are you on? Let me know if you're on. Gene was having trouble. Let me see. He just made a post. So let me find out what's going on here. If I can. I don't want anybody to miss out. I really don't. Yeah, Gene said he's still not getting links. So I don't know what's happening there. I really don't. All right. This is a good example of the very thing that we were talking about here. So I kept it this week because I wanted you to see it doesn't have to be dark on dark. This is a great example of that, though. I love the fact that he took the color of coffee and used it as the color of the font. But it plays right into exactly what we were doing here. Just a slightly different twist on that, but it looked really good. Can somebody help Derek with that? The old webinar replays. Yeah, somebody help him with that. I do my best to just work past that. Okay. Youssef just posted this just before we went live, and I liked this. This is a really, really simple, easy to do YouTube thumbnail. We'll talk about thumbnails a little bit today and how important they are. These are just really good tools to have, and being able to knock out a thumbnail can be really, really advantageous. So we'll talk about thumbnails in just a little bit, how important they are and how you can use those, particularly with some of these design elements that we're getting. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Just don't hesitate to ask questions. I appreciate that. Yeah, Pete hit that up. Okay, good. Thank you, Pete. All right. This I want to take apart, and I told you I was going to do this. Leah had posted this last week just before we went live, and I went through and watched it as quickly as I could before we went live in the webinar, so that I could share with you the things that I saw in it. And I told you we'd take that apart a little bit better, and we're going to do that today. So I'm going to pull out some of these trends that are easy for you to do using Uzine. All right, you can't do them all, but there's some things that you can do fairly easily using Uzine. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm going to show you some places where you can actually put that to work immediately. Okay. I think you'll find this very helpful. The next thing is I'm going to go through these. I'm going to pull out the ones that are going to be the easiest for us to do using, using Uzine. Okay. Hang on just a second. I've got a concern here that I want to take a look at. All right. I'm a little bit concerned that we might have missed a bunch of people, and I don't want to. I want to see if there's a way for me to fix that. We have almost 50 people on, so I don't know that I need to stop what we're doing to fix that. Okay. All right. So the first one is just the darkness. And again, I like the yellow on black. I think it's a great combination. Hi, Judy. I think it's a great combination. The white on black is a great combination. We saw some black on black, like right here. That was a great black on black example. But again, in this dark theme, these yellow or gold colors look really, really good. The white colors look really good, as do the dark colors with a white shadow on those dark colors. And you may have to layer them just a little bit in order to achieve that. Last week we kind of got that glow color that we were talking about. So, but darkness, one of those things that you need to incorporate into your design. Let me park here for just a second and talk about branding, because I think branding gets in the way from being able to do things that are effective. Black may not be your branded color. Gold might not be a branded color. White might not be a branded color, but you're not trying to impress people with your ability to maintain the colors. You're trying to capture people's attention. And don't let, and I say this in air quotes, don't let branding get between you and effective marketing or attention capturing or attention getting effectiveness. Does that make sense to everybody? I think sometimes we take that and we go too far with it. Let me know if you're on with me, because I think sometimes that gets in people's way. I think if we, my brand might not tell me to do this, but man, that looks really good, right? My brand might not tell me to do this, but man, that looks good. Just remember that your job isn't to maintain a brand. Your job is to capture people's attention. The purpose of the graphic is not to maintain a brand perfect font and color. It's to capture people's attention. Okay. Yeah, I would love to have metallics like chrome and gold and that kind of thing. All right, next one. The next one is the hemp and cannabis industry. He calls it Mary Jane, talking about marijuana. But the hemp cannabis industry is exploding right now. It's no secret. I have a hemp business myself. And there's great opportunity here for people to get powerful branding to take place. And so if that's some kind of space that you find appealing, then it's a good idea to explore the possibilities of that. Initially we were a little bit fearful in the hemp industry of using the leaf. Today we've removed all of the fear from that, and so it works really, really well. Okay, so if this is an area or a space that you're comfortable in, I highly encourage you to explore that. Talk about the possibilities. By the way, this is one of those things that we saw the other day. Remember where there's the image and the cutout? And we're not going to explore that, but this is a great way to be able to do that. Okay. Taking a bite out of that, the Canobites. This is a very effective logo right here. Now, if you take that to an extreme, this font right here, this is all small letters. Well, you wouldn't write all of your content in all small letters. So you just can't take this too far. All right. The next thing, but this is an interesting industry to explore, and it's something that people should take a look at if that's something that you can do. Not everybody's comfortable with that, and that's okay. But this is a new industry, and as the man says in the video, if you could imagine the opportunity that would happen immediately following the removal of prohibition and the opportunity to promote that business, we have basically the same thing going on today with the hemp and the cannabis industry. All right, this warp speed, this is something that we can do. We've played with it a little bit with Uzine, but it's not the easiest thing to do. Okay, Uzine is not designed to stretch letters like this and make them look appropriate. So, but just keep that in mind. The warp speed is one of those new designs, and you can use a little bit of that. And we've actually dedicated a couple of webinars to something that was really close to warp speed. And I'm not going to spend time with it today, but I wanted to at least remind you of that. And I agree, Jerry Lynn. It does kind of give me a headache too. It's like I have enough trouble seeing like this, so I wouldn't want to have everything like that. But it's a good attention getter, okay? And I think it can be used effectively if used limitedly. The next one, and I really like this, and we do this a lot. I do this a lot in the things that I do, and that is this color field. I did want to park here and point out some things about the color. I really like the use of these being split like this and using a color field like this. And these are really, really easy to do in Uzine. And so this is a pretty fascinating way to do this. Okay. Again, this is a great combination of colors, this pastel green and this pastel yellow. Very, very effective use of color here. I like this down in the bottom here. This is a great way to display these things. Okay. This is on a yellow background, and this is a bold black on top of that yellow background with a white field on it. So great way to be able to illustrate things. This is a good use of vitamin water. I like this over here. Let's talk about this one for just a moment. It's a really effective use of gigantic letters that don't mean a thing. I mean, they really don't mean a thing. It's a field that's split up, but it's a great attention getter, and I really, really like it. And I'll give you some examples of places where you might be able to use that in just a little bit, okay? But how many of you find this to be a very, very appealing and something that you want to begin to use in your designs? You like that? Because this is one of these that really, really makes it work, okay? For me. Hey, there's Stephen. The next one, and this one I really like, and I'm going to tell you some reasons why I really like that, okay? Forever, the paint industry, for people who paint, for painters, paint has been the most boring container on the planet. They were white labels, black letters, and a thumbprint of the color, and the cap was the color that the paint was. That was it. I love this. I love this. There's no reason why you can't make paint containers sexy. And they did a great job of that here. Okay. Same thing's going on over here. These are like, this is probably not crayons. It's probably, even though you have this crayon look here, this is probably oil colors or pastel colors. But I really like this pattern right here, and being able to use that in your design. And this is a very innovative way to do that. They put a black bubble on top of this colored field. Very effective. When I first saw this, I thought this was a when I very first saw this, I thought this was and it still might be, I'm not sure, but I thought this was a fire extinguisher. And I thought, do you want to get away from the red color for a fire extinguisher? It may or may not be. It looks to me like a drink spritzer to me. But this label right here confused me. I thought maybe it was a fire extinguisher. But anyhow, very cool looking design on the outside of this. And you can see that they've taken this really cool looking design and put a metallic gold on the bottom of it and put a black lettering on top of that. Very, very effective. All right. I love the labels on these bottles. This is this field right here kind of in reverse. They've used the pattern field as the outline around the outside of this. Very effective use of that. And I really like it. What do y'all think about this? Do you find this product pattern design style to be very effective? I'm going to give you some examples of that in just a little bit, just using the tools that we have. Yeah, I agree, Ray. This is a very cool design, but it's done in a very simple manner. Kind of like this is a very simple design with in a cool manner. I agree, Stephen. It's kind of a feast of colors. That's a good term. I've never used that term before. I like that. I'll probably use that again. I'm going to steal that from you, but I really like that feast of colors. That's a good idea. You know, for me, I've said this before, one of my inspirations for colors, I go to the produce department in the grocery store, because produce comes in the most fascinating colors. It just really does. The color combinations of produce is amazing. And a good produce department takes full advantage of that. This is kind of cool. I think what these are ice cream containers, and I like the use of this. This is a good geometric design right here that points attention to that label, so it's very effective. Okay, but I really like this product pattern here. I'm going to show you some ways that we can do that using the tools that we have. The next one is this apothecary look. I think sometimes these kinds of things right here are just a little too busy, but man, I love this. This is a very, very effective use of something that could be amazing. Now think about this for just a moment, because we create product labels and do product development here. So think about this. You've got shampoo and conditioner. How cool would it be to be able to flip those labels like that? It's a very effective use of being able to take the labels and flip them so you can distinguish the difference between the two. Do y'all understand what I'm talking about? You got the same thing going on over here, okay? Same kind of thing, same bottle, just a completely different design, but it's the same, and that's pretty cool. All right. And then we have over here, this is a very effective use of just whatever that is, and I don't know what that is, but it's a very effective use of that as well. Okay, so I like the apothecary design. I thought it was really good. It's easy for us to do that in Usign, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit when we get to the canvas. By the numbers, and again, the numbers don't necessarily have to mean anything, although they can. And I thought the use of numbers here, the use of giant numbers is really effective. I'm going to show you an example of that right here. And so, actually what I was doing is as I was thinking about this, I went out and grabbed a bunch of things that I could put inside of Usign, or I could make designs out of, and just get them layered on top of each other. And that's the reason why you see this background around the outside of this. And on the inside of this right here, the very interior, is a YouTube thumbnail. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But this is a very effective use of numbers. And I just did the first two. I'm going to go all the way around this. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. But I wanted to give you a breakdown of that. And we want to talk about how we can take Usign and accomplish those designs that we had here. Okay. Because again, by making this kind of glow around the outside of this, you can make this more effective. And I'll talk about some different ways you can do that in just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, that faux 3D. Yes, very much so, Stephen. Still have a little cough. from my episode in the past. So you have to just be patient with me this morning. All right. Are you ready to, Geraldine, have you noted the questions? I've seen some of those. I've just kind of let you catch those as we go. So let's move from the agenda to the canvas now, and we'll take a look at some things. And I want to show you, I want to combine some stuff here as we do that. So give me a second to change screens. That, which is where I wanted to go. Okay. Y'all see my screen fine now and everything? All right, good. Now, before we get into that, I want to show you something. We're going to jump over here to Printify. I'm going to show you where these things become very effective, okay? And we're going to play with this just a little bit. They do this week and next. Okay, so I took a pattern that I found, and I made this bag from that pattern. All right, in the Printify store. We talked about Printify a lot a few months ago, or maybe it's been 2 months ago, but this is really pretty simple and pretty easy to do. So if we go backwards here, you'll see that I actually took two pieces and I layered these on top of each other. This was a pattern that I found someplace. Again, remember we were talking about the product pattern a while ago. In this case, I just simply moved this one to the top, and I added a second one. And moved it to the bottom. Make sure I'm covering the bag here. I'm a little jerky this morning. What's going on? All right, we'll go to the next. That makes a nice looking bag, right? All right, well, what I did was I found a bunch of those kinds of designs. All right. And when I found those designs, and you'll see them, let's move this out of the way. You see some of these like this right here. I love this one. I'll show you where I got that in just a minute. But let's talk about this layering effect first. I've just got these sitting on top of each other so that we could go through them rather quickly. Okay. So you have to use a little bit of an imagination here. What I've done with this, and you can see I've taken the first one. Let me move this out of the way. You see, I took the first one, I put a shadow around the outside of it, okay? Then I duplicated it, and I had the shadow go. Come on. I had the shadow go in a different direction. The first one was going here, the second one goes here. So if I wanted to do that all the way around, what I would do is I'd take this next one, make sure that they line up. Looks like my first one's wanky just a little bit. Let me get that right. I know you can use your arrow keys for that final positioning. You do know that, right? And do that. And flip it that way. Do you see what we're achieving now? Now, but what if I did this? If I switched this over here and I made this kind of a gold color. And I had done that for all four of those. Then we get a very different effect than what we have now, okay? If I make that, put this back to the white, the rest of them are. And now I've kind of taken this and I've made that, I need to have one more. And switch the direction for this to that way. And now I've got that standing up from the crab, right? And you can play with that. You can do the half gold, half white. You can do it. You can add, if I made these last two shadows dark, it drastically changes the effect. you know, it adds a different kind of depth to it. And I'd have to do that with 2 of those rather than just 1 of the 4, but it drastically changes the depth. So there's all kinds of cool ways to be able to accomplish this 3D type effect in the dark range. And using your using the colors that mimic the gold can really help, like that. Okay, and if I did this with the with this version right here, we'll do that same gold color there, and now you see the effect that we get. Make sense? I agree with what you're saying, Stephen. You got to get your head wrapped around how powerful depth of field perception, the blur effect, all of those kinds of things come into play. We've spent some time we spent a couple of weeks talking about just perspective and the difference that angles make and the difference that depth of perception makes, and what you can do in a situation like this. Had these 2 shadows here been black, it would have drastically changed this impact. But it's pretty simple, and you can pretty easily stack these on top of each other and accomplish that purpose. And this works really, really well in that dark effect. Okay? I think it works very, very well for this dark effect to be able to accomplish that. So now let's take a look at something else, and we're going to play with this one for a while. So let me get rid of all of the things that we had here. All right. And I'll just remove these. That makes it easier for me. Okay, so this is a really kind of a cool field. Okay, I like this. I think this is this is kind of I don't know what to say about it. I'll show you where I found it at. One over here. This actually that one, the last one that we had was this geometric design right here. I just typed in the word geometric and I got this. I thought that was kind of cool. If I wanted to highlight that 50 in the middle, can you see how effective that was? I actually used the geometric design to bring attention to that to that number 50 in the middle. In this case, I agree with what Judy just said. She said it reminds me of my youth. This is kind of fun and playful and kind of cool. So back to the bag that I had over here. How cool would this be on this bag, right? So just something to keep in mind, okay? And I agree, Stephen, this potpourri of colors is one of those things that just never gets old. It doesn't. And this would make a really, really cool bag. Now, if we want to do something from kind of I'm talking about the negative side of this all day, but if I want to do something from kind of a branding perspective, then there are some things that I can do that we were just on just a minute ago that can help with that, okay? So let's just take this letter. Let's just take this right here. Okay. Let's say I want to put this at the top, and I'm gonna put a name in here. Okay. So let's reduce the size of this just a little bit. So we're gonna make this the top edge of that bag. All right. Everybody with me? Gene, I don't know what's going on with your, everybody else was able to get in. I don't know what's going on with you, and I apologize for that. We'll see. I'm gonna send a note to Demio as soon as we get off, see if I can figure out what's going on. So let's take this and we'll make it kind of a playful color here, okay? So now that color's just swallowed inside of this. So the first thing that we can do is I could put a border around the outside of it. And let's make that border, in this case, let's make it white. All right. And I can make it really big like that. And now that stands out in the middle of this field of color. Does that make sense? See how easy that was? I did it with a border. So I can take advantage of this what I think is a really cool looking field of color, as Stephen said a minute ago, a potpourri of color. And this is a very effective use of that. Again, this color goes well with this field. It looks like it belongs, right? And to prove that point, I'm simply going to do this, and you'll see. It looks like it belongs. It fits in. It's appropriate for the look. All right. And all I had to do was add that back, and now I've got it so that it's easy to see. That makes sense? Yes, I could have used the border for 50, but the border doesn't give you the depth effect. See, this isn't giving me a depth effect here. Does that make sense to everybody? I got the depth effect by having the shadow, because the shadow fades as it goes. And what happens when you're getting a depth effect is it fades as it goes from the sharp edge, and it fades out as it goes out toward the outer perimeter of the border. So I could have done it, but I wouldn't have got that fade effect. And the whole advantage that I had of that earlier design, this design right here, was that I wanted to have that sharp fade that went to the inside. That makes sense? In this case, this works perfect. In the other case, I thought that worked more perfecter. Okay, there's an Ericism for you. But in this case, all I want is for you to be able to read this. And it works really well for you to be able to read it that way. All right, any other questions about that? But that's how easy it would be to do the very thing we were talking about a while ago. All right. And I could do that for a phone cover. One is a border. This is the border design right here, okay? When I click on here, this is the border. I could have done the same thing with the shadow, and it would have looked slightly different than that. We'll put a white on here. I'll move the distance out a bit. I'll make that shadow as dark as I can. And you can start to see what I mean by the depth of field, okay? I'll move this back up into place. We'll get it close. It won't be perfect, but it'll get close. And I can change the direction now this way. And you see the difference that is, okay? I want to duplicate that. Oh, duplicated the wrong thing. Sorry. Duplicate this. And again, we're going to take that shadow a different direction now. But you see, the shadow does not do the same thing that the border did. Where the border is much, much more effective for the look that we were after before. Right? Okay, very cool way to use that color field. As Judy said, kind of a youthful, playful sort of a field, and I really like it. Let's get rid of that, and let's move to the next thing that I want to talk about today. But again, you can go back over here. Let's go to accessories. Let's take a phone case. How cool would a phone case look designed like that? So we go over here to the design, and I see 1125 by 1900. I'm going to keep that in mind, okay? Back over here. Get rid of this. I found this eagle. This is kind of cool, guys. I'm going to use that in just a little bit, but I grabbed it and brought it in because I thought it was kind of cool. I like this. This goes back to, this is a very geometrically designed image, and we may or may not get a chance to talk about that. But yeah, Judy, we can talk about how to create some bling here in just a second. Let's do that. So we go over here. I've got this geometric design. All right. This is pretty cool. Okay. I'm going to put this on high density. Now, that's kind of an interesting design all by itself, right? Yeah, Tony, I think that's exactly what it said when I found the image, was that it was the eagle parrot, which was kind of an interesting combination of terms. So good job for identifying that. All right, let's grab let's grab this. We're going to make this the top of Judy's phone case, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is the very same thing I've done before. I'm going to take this. Now, I'm going to take advantage of my color picker, and I'm going to come down and pick that color right there, because I kind of like that color. I'm going to put a border around the outside of it. I can do that. Or I can change it drastically by doing this. Right? Very easy to do. And that would make a really cool phone cover. It just would. Now, let's do this just for fun. Let's take the parrot. The parrot eagle, and we'll put it down in the corner. And then you can get really, really interestingly creative here, okay? Let's go over here, and we'll use, let's keep it the purple color. Let's do that. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to come over here and grab a color from down here. See, the cool thing about the color picker is I can find colors that would work, right? And I can play with it. And it's kind of fun. And this kind of fits in the model that we're using, right? Okay. Is that a splashy design for you? Or I like the geometric designs myself. I think they're kind of cool. And I like the fact that this image right here is kind of a geometric style design as well. All right. Any questions about that as we go? Yeah, I thought the eagle was kind of cool. All right. Let's talk about, I actually want to, before we go, I want to show you a video. I think this video is amazing. We talked about the t-shirt designs, those kinds of things. We talked about trending designs. This is the most amazing 5-minute video I've ever listened to about a company that has taken advantage of bad dad jokes and created a t-shirt company around it. Now, I'm the master of bad dad jokes. And so I thought this was an amazing thing. So if you all will stick with me, I want you to watch this video, okay? I think this is pretty awesome because he says some really cool stuff. And the other thing is, I think this is a great use of video as well. So watch carefully as we go through this. It's a pretty short video, and I'm going to cut it off before we get to the end, okay?
I think what sets us apart from our competition is the variety of products and also the original content that we create. My name is Daniel Stone. I'm one of the founders of Bandolier Media. Bandolier Media does content creation for brands. In the process of doing content creation, we created a brand called Classic Dad. Our designs, we have a lot of dadisms and dad attitude designs, and we get our inspiration from our dads and father figures we had growing up. They're all phrases that most people have heard before. Like my favorite one is, "Hey hungry, I'm dad." Hey guys. So Classic Dad's developed a pretty active and lively community. We didn't really plan for it. It just kind of organically and naturally happened. We have a great Instagram and Facebook presence. We spend a lot of time curating the content. We like to go slow with it. We're all about quality over quantity. It's a big deal to us to not overly promote the shirts and speak about the culture and the lifestyle of dad life. People submit a lot of photos of their dads, and people tag their dads and send us video content of their dads. We're very grateful and appreciate all the good content we get, and we hope to embrace our fans more and grow the community more. And at one point, our goal is to have a massive Classic Dad grill off. There's a debate of what type of shirt does your typical dad want, and who is your typical dad? Because I'm a dad. People don't necessarily call me a typical dad because I'm a young dad. I have yet to develop my beer belly yet. The new dads want
just wait, dude. You'll get that
athletic fit, and then we have a lot of older dads, and the older dads kind of want the comfort and the room to stretch around and be able to wear the shirt while they're watching a football game or grilling at home. So a big obstacle for us was finding a good supply chain and finding good vendors for our shirts that can withstand dad things like power washing, waxing the car, doing yard work, feeding a baby, getting thrown up on by a baby. I hung my Christmas lights in a LAT apparel shirt to see if it could keep up with me, and it worked really well, and that's one of the shirts that we use for Classic Dad. If I can go back and start over with Printful, I would have expanded the product line and used more shirt options. I really
Did you get that?
Just to one color and one style. I feel like we left a lot of money on the table by not taking advantage of all the different offerings. So we started with t-shirts, but working with Printful, we've been able to expand into mugs. We have the Dad Fuel, high octane. Every dad has to have this. We have, this is for all the new dads. This relates to me because I have this one at home right now. This is the world's tiredest dad. I love this mug. This is our #1 selling hat, Thermostat Police. My wife is actually the Thermostat Police at my house. I'm not allowed to touch it. So it kind of can relate to mom and dad. This is another popular hat that we put out. It's like the classic dad cap. It says the Lawn Whisperer. See right there, we've got the little lawn clippings. So in developing this design, Printful was very helpful. Their customer service was very helpful, helping us figure out how do we get the small details like the lawn clipping in there.
Okay, that's all I'm going to show you, but I wanted you to see that because I thought there's a lot of insight into this video. He's talking about how to have an incredibly successful business selling t-shirts. And I'm sorry that the audio wasn't really good. You can take the link that I gave you. It's a 4.5-minute video or a 4-minute and 57-second video. Not long to watch. Just click on that link that I put in the chat just a minute ago and save that till we get finished. Okay. So, but I just think that this was amazing to be able to take this something as simple as a meme, and they created an amazing business around it. And I love the way that the video is done. I thought this is also a good example of some of the very things that we talked about. Can you see this right here? This is another thing that we were just talking about, something very, very similar to that. But this is filled with amazing ideas. Let me see if I can find the next thing here. This also is very useful, very good use of space in the video design. Let me find it. This right here. I thought this was really good. You watch this video, you will get thousands and thousands of valuable dollars worth of ideas. It was one of the best put together videos I've ever seen. And again, this is just awesome. This is a great use of color. It's a great use of space. It's a great use of the branding that they have here for this. But let me find one more thing here. I thought this one was pretty cool, the grill sergeant. But do you see how effective they were at using the video to accomplish the purpose of being able to talk about the brand built around this T-shirt? And again, the brand's not about the size of the font, the color of the background. The brand's about what do they do? What are they trying to accomplish? They're building a community. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I wanted you to see this because I think this is a very, very valuable training video and does more in 4 minutes than I could do in 4 weeks. So I wanted you to grab that because there is some great building tactics that are covered here that I thought would be very helpful to you. Okay, so kind of a cool idea. I like the fact that he talked about the variety of giving customers more options. We tend to limit options sometimes, and the additional options he thought was leaving a lot of money that was on the table. But I want to wrap up with this, and that is to talk about YouTube, about these splash pages, these video thumbnails, because and let me address that branding issue one more time, and talk about something here. This is a product that I have called the 7.5 Habits of Effective Networkers, and there's something incredibly subtle in this image. And look at the image of the 3 people in there. Obviously, one of them is me. But look at the image of the 3 people that are there. What is the one thing? The one thing that is different in that video or in that image? Yeah, she's under 5 feet tall. Dave, you just nailed it. You just nailed it. I'm the only one that's not wearing a name tag. And guess what the first steps in 7.5 Habits of Effective Networkers is? Make yourself unforgettable. And so I was going back through my images and I went, holy cow, there's a classic example of the very thing that I'm talking about. Now, very subtle here. There's no reason to point it out. You caught that. I don't have a name tag on. I tell people when I show up at the registration table, don't give me a name tag. The only time I will ever wear a tag is when they tie it on my toe. From that point on, most people don't forget you. Right? So this is a use. This is a use of just a subtle example of the very thing I'm going to talk about in this first video. Is just an example of the very thing I'm going to talk about in the video. And I love name tags on everybody else, but my goal is to be unforgettable. And I built this entire program around that theme of becoming unforgettable. And the 7 habits are all based upon how do you become unforgettable. And when I was looking through the images I wanted to use for this, I saw this one. I went, that's exactly what I was trying to communicate there. Right? Okay, so now, is this font in my brand? No, but does it work well here? Very well. I like it. Again, what is this? This is a black theme. This is dark on dark, right? It doesn't get much better than this. This is dark on dark. And it's not jumping out and grabbing you. It's dark on dark. And I kind of like the dark on dark. That was the other advantage that I have, Elle. You're exactly right. I have a very funny story about that. I was walking through a video store years ago when we still had video stores. Actually, let me tell a different story. I was at a swimming pool in central Missouri at a swim meet for my nieces, and a guy walked past me, and I didn't look up until I saw the back of him, and he was a guy to go to high school with, and I stood up and I said, "Derek," and without looking, he said, "Mulford, is that you?" The last time I spoke to him was 30 years earlier. He remembered my voice from 30 years earlier. So it does help when you have an unforgettable voice. But okay, this is an effective use of the very things that we were talking about. I put this on here because it's a splash page, and you click on the video plays. But again, this is a very effective use, and I'm going to use this for everything in that platform. But this is an effective use of the dark theme that we talked about earlier. Would y'all agree with that? And you don't have to do much with this. The cool thing about this is you don't have to do much with this. I don't have to shadow this. I don't have to put a border around the outside of it. It just works. And so I can knock this out in a couple of seconds, right? Makes it really, really easy to design my splash pages. All right. Did we miss a question here? Gemma had asked a question earlier, and she said something about filtering text. And if I put a filter over the top of this, then what's going to happen is it's going to impact my text. In order for me to not have my text impacted, what I do is I remove the text. All right. I remove the text completely. And then I filter this. Okay. And I download it. Let me do a different color filter here. That might work with this. There we go. And then I download that, I upload it, and then I add the text to it. Where'd my text go? It's got to be up here somewhere. Did I lose my text? But you don't want, let me get my, then you add your text on top of that. Okay. Now, here's the thing to remember, Geraldine. She didn't do it in the right order. It's very simple. This works. If I apply the filter and then I download the image and then I upload it and put the text on top of it, I've solved the problem. Just anytime something doesn't work for you, the reason why it didn't work for you is because you didn't follow the process. It's not complicated. This is pretty simple. And Jeffrey's asking, how did I get the images of the three of us here? Actually, this is an image that I had uploaded. Okay. And it's way down in here somewhere. Good thing is it happened to be on my computer, so it was easy for me to find. I say it was easy for me to find. It was in my uploads. With a background. It had a background on it, and I removed the background. There it is, right here. That was it. I took it over to the background removal tool and took the background off of it. And that left me with the, this, because I wanted that to be black on black. And that's how I achieved this. And you can see if I had done this, it just wouldn't look right. If I'd taken that and put it down here in the same manner, it just wouldn't have looked right. Does that make sense? Background removal tools right there. Yeah, it's much better to have the background removed in this case. It just made all the difference in the world. All right. Did we kind of get everybody's question answered? Let me look here, make sure we haven't missed anything. All right, then with that, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. And we'll be back here next Friday. I will be on the road next Friday. Just remember this. I will be on the road. So as Gene will tell us, I'm going to have my grocery getter parked in front of McDonald's, and we'll take an hour, and I will do my webinar live from McDonald's in the grocery getter. Okay? Thank you for joining me today.